Alan, you're in. Come on.
All right. Now, I don't want them to gain another yard.
You blitz all night. If they cross the line of scrimmage, I'm going to take every last one of you out. You make sure they remember forever the night they played the Titans. Leave no doubt.
People always say sports are a metaphor of life. You have the greatest ups and the lowest downs. You have fights and tears, along with joy and cheers. And one thing is consistent throughout all sports, and that is nobody can do it alone. Even if the sports are single player, you still have people involved making sure that player can succeed as best as possible. Arguably, the most important person involved in player success is the coach. But coaches mean far more to some players beyond the field. The people leading teams oftentimes are handling more responsibilities than what is featured during game time. Whether it's reliable transportation to practice and games, a mentor, an educator, someone offering job opportunities, even a parent and someone willing to lend a helping hand, coaches at all levels have oftentimes been more than a coach. This story is here to tell the tale of the coach from the eyes of the player, so everyone can truly understand the impact coaches have in the world. Now, from Pee-wee to pro, it's time to recognize what truly makes a coach.
Greetings, I am the man with the plan, the host who does the most. My name is Prudencio Logan, and I'm here to present a project that means very much to me, and hopefully that you will understand as I take you on this journey. And it is entitled Beyond the Field, an original Prudencio Logan production brought to you by the Feel the Burn podcast, the hottest sports podcast out. And this project is here to tell you what is a coach beyond what you see during game time. And I interviewed 7 former athletes of at least the high school level, and they offered their perspective about what makes a good coach. These perspectives come from various playing backgrounds, including men's and women's basketball, soccer, football, wrestling, track and field, and golf. And through the eyes of these not only successful athletes, but prosperous people who have been able to translate lessons learned while playing into their actual lives, you will understand what it takes behind the scenes and what goes on beyond the field. First things first, I need you to state your name, the sports you played, and the age or how long you played each sport.
My name is Dante Ferguson. I played football since I was 6 years old. I played baseball since I was 3 years old. And I played basketball from when I was about 5 years old to about middle school.
Isaiah Scott. I played football for 10 years.
My name is Jamari. I played baseball and football. Baseball for...
Or really what age you started playing?
You started both at 6.
Okay.
All right, my name is MACIE Seabrook. I play football, baseball, and golf. I played baseball was my first sport. I started that at 5. My second sport was football. I played that from 6 to 13. And then I played golf from 9 to 18.
My name is Aaliyah Bryant. I played basketball, soccer, and softball. Soccer was the first sport that I started. Softball was the first sport that I started playing. I started playing that when I was about 7. When I was introduced to soccer, though, I stopped playing softball, and I was introduced to soccer by my neighbors when I was about 12, right before I got to middle school. And that was also the same time that I started playing like organized basketball. I played soccer all the way through high school and a little in college. And I played basketball up until my freshman year of high school.
My name is Sean Ridley. I'm a wrestler from MLK High School here in Nashville, Tennessee. I wrestled from freshman year to senior year, and I also wrestled 2 years as a club team in Memphis.
Okay, Ari Henderson, women's basketball, like 13. Yeah, I'll say 13. whatever seventh grade is.
To begin this journey, we will start off with a very straightforward question. What is a coach to you?
A coach is a teacher of a sport.
A coach is like a surrogate father, you know, like a mentoring figure who guides you through whatever sport you're going through, whether it be, you know, wrestling, basketball, football, etc., and someone who gives you a foundational start to a sport.
A coach is more than just a guy that's telling plays and disciplinary stuff. A coach is more of a second father for most people, and sometimes, unfortunately, the only father figure that most guys know. So a coach is somebody's understanding. He's a teacher for one. You can't be a coach without being a teacher, so that's where the academic component comes in. And most importantly, a coach is someone that has the ability to. He's basically a manager in a sense. He has the ability to bring guys from different backgrounds, different cultures, different personalities, and bring them as one unit to create his team.
Coach is not only a leader, but they're also somebody that's guiding you and sort of a trailblazer. And one of the things people don't understand is that a coach can be a parent as well. One of my coaches for a long time actually was my dad. He was my high school football coach. And not only was he my coach on the field, but he was also my coach off the field. So he's teaching me about football, but he's also teaching me about life too. I think the best coaches, whether that be your parents or not, can teach you the game on and off the field or on and off the court, respectively.
A coach is somebody who guides you in the right direction in your respective sport. I think for me, it was kind of like another parental figure in a sense. So like just somebody that you can lean on, come to, but somebody who's always going to give you that tough love and tell you the right thing to do, even if you don't want to do it, or like, that's not what you would prefer.
Coaches, I feel like a coach wears many hats. A good coach wears many hats. A coach is first a teacher with whatever sport you're coaching. You know, you're a manager. You have to put in the right players at the right time. But just because of the position, the coach gets to be a role model, gets to be, you know, somebody that kids want to look up to.
A coach has to have several qualities from different, categories. I feel like obviously the obvious one is being a leader, but I think some of the qualities that a lot of coaches miss out on as being someone that cares about their athletes. A lot of them are there for a job, but the best coaches I've ever had a particular interest in my well-being, not only on the field or on the court, but off of the court and off the field.
After that question, we got answers solely around sports and some that took it a little deeper. It's time to take our previous question one step further, and this time we asked, what is a good coach?
A good coach is someone that can bring the best out of players.
A good coach is someone who takes that beyond the playing field. Like my coach, not only was he my wrestling coach, but he was also one of my teachers in school. And he also helped me, with extracurricular activities outside of school, like homework, applying for colleges, applying for scholarships, stuff like that. So someone who takes the extra time and goes the extra mile for their players.
A good coach is someone who knows the game, for one. Someone who cares about the individual people and not just the game, because I think that's really important. And that's what kind of molds a team, just knowing that your coach cares about you, not only on the court, but just as a person. Someone who's a good role model in life. So someone who lives the lifestyle that you would want to follow.
A good coach is someone who's like, to this point, I'm sure, you have the same experience. Like, it's some coaches that you still have contact with to this day.
Yeah.
A good coach is someone who doesn't let kids go in a way, like even when they're done coaching or when they're done playing together, they still have a certain contact. They still have an effect on the kids' lives. You know, graduation comes, they still reach out. Birthdays come, they reach out. And they help the kids to get not only to the next level athletically, but to the next level in life.
I think a good coach is just a coach that puts their athletes first in any situation. A great example of that is in high school. I had a coach who I wouldn't say they were a bad coach. They just weren't experienced, I'll say. And he never ran practices. He didn't show up to practices. He just showed up for games. I coached the practices. I pretty much coached the games as well. But then I got a new coach who took that load off of me and allowed me to grow as not only an athlete, but as a person. So I think those type of coaches who do that for their athletes are the best type of coaches.
So one of the things that makes a good coach is relatability. I should be able to get the help that I need in the most efficient way possible. There's not a lot of unproductive work. There's a lot of yelling that goes back and forth between coaches, and people kind of get the misunderstanding that you have to be loud to be a good coach. But when some of the best coaches that I've had didn't actually yell at me at all, to be honest. Like, for example, my college defensive line coach, he basically taught me the whole position of defensive line in about 2 weeks. And I don't think he's ever yelled or he's had to use derogatory terms towards me for me to get the concepts. Now, of course, now coaches have reserved the right to be upset. They reserve the right to show their anger and passion in the sport. That's not what I'm saying. A good coach will know the mistake, will know how the player made the mistake and know how to fix a mistake, not just yell at them when they make the mistake. I think that's the misconception, that coaches should just yell when the mistake is made with no solution to fixing the mistake so it doesn't happen again.
A good coach is a coach that understands that you can't teach every player the same way. You have to be able to. Some guys can tolerate yelling, and then some guys, if you yell at them, for example, they're going to shut down and do the complete opposite, and now it becomes counterproductive. You got some coaches. A good coach understands that every player doesn't like to be chewed out in front of the team. While some people can handle it, some people cannot. They feel that you're embarrassing them, and then that sometimes can lead to some rebellion. And of course, that's the worst thing you want as a coach is, in a sense of they always say, coach lose the locker room. That's what it comes down to, a coach that can no longer, his messages no longer come to the team as a whole. While it might lead, some might get it. If everybody isn't getting it, or the majority, you won't be successful.
Throughout the years, if you have participated in a sport, you probably have a favorite coach. I know I can name some of mine, and I haven't played football in 7 years. You have Coach G, Coach Brown, and Coach Hootie Hoo, to name a few. And I wanted to see, since these athletes can describe what a good coach is, if they could tell me who their favorite coaches of all time are.
It had to be my wrestling coach, Coach Bass. Yeah, he actually got me to wrestle my freshman year because I didn't want to do it. But he sought me out out of everybody. He was like, hey, I want you on the team. I'll do whatever it takes to get you on the team. The next thing I know, it progressed from there.
I'll say favorite coach will have to be starting off baseball with at Belvedere Park. Coach James.
Coach James, Belvedere Park.
Yeah, from 6 up until 12, we had, contact here and there.
Yeah.
I played on many different teams, but, the best teams were probably his teams.
Okay.
Bias aside, my favorite coach of all time is I'm probably gonna say my dad. One of the things that I liked about my dad being my coach is the fact that he never made it feel like I was his son when I was playing. I always felt like, an important part of the team, not just, the coach's son. He had a way of making everybody feel and their respective role as being important, that their specific role on the field helped contribute to the win. And I feel like every coach should adopt that principle into their game.
My favorite coach of all time that I played for would have to be is Coach Lee from Concordia College, my sophomore year in college.
Okay.
what made him the best was he made complicated schemes very digestible.
Okay, so he made the game easy.
Yes. Even though if you've like really like understand what it was very complicated, but he chopped it up and made, like I said, made it very digestible. So we can think, we can play instead of think.
Probably my high school assistant coach. His name is Coach Davenport, but Mr. Davenport, that's what I call him. But he kind of like, I still talk to him to this day, and he mentored me on and off the court. Like, I still consider him one of my mentors. He was always there for me when I needed to get up extra shots. He was always there. We would get up at really early in the morning to get shots before school even started. He pushed me to like do things basketball wise that I never thought I'd be able to do, and like just truly believed in me the whole time. And I don't feel like I've ever had a coach that believed in me as much as he did when I didn't even believe in myself. So
I think I actually do have two. The first one was my middle school basketball coach, Coach Mayberry. And the reason she's one of my favorites is because she was also one of my teachers, obviously, but Coach Mayberry was all about young women growing and developing into, productive citizens. Like I remember getting in trouble in her class, but I wasn't even the one that did anything. But then the long story short is she was always on me to make sure that, I was doing what I needed to do in order to get where I needed to be. My second favorite coach was my soccer coach, which is ironic. He wasn't even my coach. He was the coach for the boys team, but he was there for me all 4 years that I played soccer. When I came in as a freshman, I had that coach that I talked about earlier who was super inexperienced, didn't even know the game of soccer. But when I met Dakin, he instilled in me a lot of core values about being a leader and gave me that ability to even lead that team in the first place without a proper coach. And the older I got, the more I was there for me. He even tried to get me scholarships at schools, sent me invitations for camps and workouts and stuff like that. So he was really invested in my future, and I really appreciated that. So,
favorite coach, I was 14 years old. I had a guy, his name is Coach Roger Grimmett. Him and Coach G were easily my two favorite coaches. Coach G was a coach that pushed me literally to the limits. Every practice, you was not going to come to practice and give 80%. And I'm pretty sure you can attest that as well. There was no such thing as 80% or even 90% with Coach G. If you didn't go 100% in practice, you was going to 100% be on the bench on Saturday. And that was his motto. He gave you everything he got, so the least we could do as players is give him everything we got, whether we're hurt, banged up. He was also one of the first coaches. There's a difference between being injured and being hurt.
Yeah.
And when you playing sports, if you playing, you get a little hurt. Now,
That's true.
Injured, you better not wait. He better not have to waste a timeout because your thumb hurt or you jammed the thumb on the play.
Right, it's the difference in stubbing your toe and breaking your wrist.
Big difference. You better not be able to move for him to have to waste that timeout. So, easily one of the greatest coaches, one of the greatest influences. And I think what he had to offer was he was a motivator. He wanted you to understand that while he is yelling, well, I won't even say yelling, while he's getting after you, it was never personal. He sees best in you. And for most coaches, I think that's what their philosophy comes with when it comes to even people see them, they're raising their voices. It's not them raising their voices saying you're not good enough. It's they see the potential in you and they have to do they're doing everything in their power to get that out of you on a consistent basis.
Coaches throughout time have handled more responsibilities than what is seen during game time. Oftentimes, they have been reliable transportation to practice and games, an educator, a mentor, a job opportunity, and even in some instances, a parent. The next question asks the participants to explain some of the different hats a coach have worn in their life.
Definitely teachers, mentors, father figure, just a professional mentor. Like I've gotten career advice from coaches that I've played for. I've gotten career help. I've gotten jobs. I've gotten gigs just from from old coaches, and it's always just somebody you can lean on for a long time.
You know, come from a family with plenty siblings, so my parents couldn't always, and we all played sports, so my parents couldn't always transport each and every one of us to games. So I've had coaches whose house I spent the night at, whose house I spent the weekend at, whose house I spent the week at, you know, depending on what. I've had coaches who took me out of town with their family, not even sports related, just, you know, they're going on vacation, I get to go too, you know, certain things like that. So.
Okay.
For me, a mentor. Because, you know, your father is there to guide you through life and to become a man. He's there in your daily home life. But when you're at school, your dad can't always be there. So my coach, he took up that, you know, that mentoring figure. He helped me with my homework, even from freshman year on up to senior year. Helped me with homework, got me tutoring when I needed, helped me fill out applications for scholarships. He actually wrote some of my recommendation letters for different colleges. And, you know, just being that stand-in, you know, so until I get back home, he makes sure I'm taken care of.
Yeah, mentor for sure. I mean, mentor, teacher, like a teacher outside of basketball, like teaching me skills that they specialize in or got a degree in. A guidance counselor. I don't want to say a therapist, but I just had some coaches that I pretty much treated them as a therapist. Like I just came to them and like they just helped me out with situations that had nothing to do with basketball. So
one of the hats, specifically my defensive line coach in college played, one of those roles he played as a kind of a mentor for football. He showed me a different way to look at football than the way that I was looking before. Before I was just looking at it as just running up and down the field, just not even like X and O's. But then when I got to him, he taught me to break the game down into its most simplest form and then build upon it just like that. Another role a coach has played has been off the field. Has been some of my high school coaches that's influencing me off the field to be a part of the fraternity that I'm a part of right now, MACIE Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. So that's one of the hats that's that coaches have played off the field that's influenced me to be a better person off the field and on the field as well.
All of those actually. Coach Mayberry was definitely a mentor for me. Like I said, she was always there to teach me wrong from right. Even though, you know, you're a middle schooler, so you should know these things, but there's some situations where your judgment lapses. But she was always there to make sure that mine did not lapse. Dakin for sure was a mentor and somewhat a parent almost for me because, like I said, the situation that I was in when I was on that soccer team, he took notice of that. And although he couldn't help every girl on that team because he technically wasn't our coach, I really appreciate him as a father figure because, you know, when stuff got hard, he was right there for me, telling me, you know, what I needed to do and how I needed to get where I needed to be, especially when it was time for me to go to college and I was deciding on my future. He had a lot of great input because he had done all those same things. So he was able to walk me through that process to help me get where I needed to be.
So believe it or not, I was my dad was a coach for most of my life until I got to high school. I think only time he wasn't my coach was in baseball. And I want to say maybe 2 or 3 years when I played football, but they were more so mentors in a sense. They taught life lessons, and then what they did was they were able to relate the game of football or the game of baseball to real life things. You know, one of my favorite ones is in football, you're going to get knocked out. No matter how good you are, somebody going to give you a licking, right? But your job as a player is you got to get back up and get ready to fight. Well, there's going to be days in your life as a person where you're just not going to feel like going to work. You feel like life is beating on you. You feel like life is beating you down. But guess what you got to do? You got to keep fighting. And that's one of the major things that every coach, no matter what sport, they tell you. If you want to look for one word to describe it, it'll be adversity. Everybody has to go through adversity at some point in their life. And the best ones get through adversity, and you don't even realize that they were down. So I think the best hat to be worn is to be able to teach players adversity.
We have heard what makes a coach and what makes a good coach specifically. We have had the opportunity to learn about some of the greatest coaches of all time. Now, we have zoomed in to really understand the different responsibilities a coach have taken in our life. This next question is about the individual, and I asked for a specific instance in these players' lives where a coach have done something that really impacted their life.
He wrote my recommendation letter for the Naval Academy.
Okay.
And even though I didn't attend the academy, it was because of his letter I was able to get accepted.
Okay.
And so that really meant a lot to me. And he really went the extra mile to pulling in all kinds of favors, pulling all kinds of extra strings. And he definitely went the extra mile for me.
Again, I'm going to keep going back to my coach from college. Just giving me a chance, because a lot in college, I kind of doubted myself a lot my first 2 years of playing. I gained a little bit more confidence, but it was shot back down my third year, my redshirt sophomore year. My confidence was shot back down, and ultimately he gave me a chance. I felt like it was my last chance to play football, and he gave me that chance, and I took that chance and I ran with it and carved out a great career at TSU for it. So ultimately, I feel like he gave me the best thing that I could ever ask for out of a coach, just to give me a chance.
Well, up until high school, I never really, I've always known that I was talented, but I never really stepped into, myself as an athlete. I was always a supporting player or whatever.
Right.
So I had coaches even though I was clearly the best player on the team, I had a coach that every day at practice, lit a fire under me, followed me around. If I'm throwing, I'm not throwing with another player. I'm throwing with this coach. He was instrumental in pushing me to the next level as far as myself, and not just being okay with being the best player on the team, but being the best player that I could be.
I want to say I was at Reading. I was playing baseball, and we had this. Every coaching staff has that kind of I want to say crazy coach, but one of those crazy coaches.
Yeah.
And we were doing it was off season, and we was in the cages, and I was just having a bad day, and I was popping everything up. And he told me in nicer words, you need to stop popping the ball up because you're too good to do that. Right. And I've never heard him give anybody a compliment. So maybe 2 weeks later, we're playing a game, and I had one of my best games playing. And while it was something so simple, he said, "Good job, 2-0." And, 2-0 is my baseball jersey number. And that meant the world to me because I've never heard him compliment anybody. And, Reading was known for really good baseball players. And, while I was there, they did win a championship. But to hear him give me a compliment gave me another self-confidence that I was able to play the game. So he took the doubt out of me, and I knew, I deserve to be here. I can make it do what it do. So him giving me that small compliment just because of the person he was, it meant the world to me.
Getting my first coaching job from a coach I played for in high school, it was definitely because what a lot of people don't know was it wasn't like when I decided to start coaching, I must have sent out at least an email to every school in the Capstone. Literally, I got maybe 3 no's and no responses from nowhere else. Coach called me, said, "You want to coach?" I said, "Yeah." He showed me the ropes. He showed me the certifications I needed. He showed me schemes. He brought me around other coaches. So, of course I was the young guy, but it was just that peek into adulthood that was definitely what I would say is the one thing that stands out to me. And so now I can take that and give it to the next generation, because it's getting that open arms when I owe you nothing. I don't play for you. I don't play for you anymore. You did that just, to help me out. And I appreciated that.
I'm going to talk about Dakin. My junior year, of high school. I just came off of a great season. I had broke a school record for saves from a goalkeeper. I was feeling good. First game of the season, I tear my ACL. And that was heartbreaking for me because I was starting to get looks from colleges. You know, I was building up a career there. And I had gotten so like down in the dumps about it that I had stopped showing up to practices as a leader. I stopped going to games as a leader, all that stuff. Like, you know, it really bothered me mentally. And Dakin took notice in that and pulled me to the side one day and he was like, you know, what's going on? Told him how I was feeling about it. And he was like, he said, he joked about it, but I knew what it meant. He was like, ACLs are in forever, but your identity as a soccer player is. So basically what he meant by that was, you know, ACL or no ACL, you still have to show up and be a leader for your team. And even though it may hurt to not be able to be out on the field with them, they'll appreciate you much more as a leader just for simply being there. And it pushed me to actually work hard through my rehab and come back for my senior season and, you know, do what I needed to do.
I'll say the biggest one was the same coach. And it was while I was in high school and I thought that, so I didn't play AAU and do all of that. So I didn't get recruited. I walked onto the team at Georgia. So like I said, he's just believed in me, but like I didn't even believe in myself. So it's just crazy looking back at the conversations we had and what he said actually came to, like, it actually happened. But it was like after the season was over and I was just like talking to him and I'm like upset because I didn't really have the opportunity to get recruited like other people. And so he was like, you know, just go play at Georgia because I was going to school there. I knew I was going to do like academics there. And I was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, why would you even say something like that crazy? And he's just like, oh, you could do it. Like, you got it. And normally, like, Georgia doesn't even have trials. They ever since I've been there, they didn't have trials besides my freshman year. It's probably not ever going to happen again. So it really just, I don't know. I mean, there was God, and I don't know how God just used him to get to me because I just thought that was such a crazy thing to say to me. And lo and behold, like, I walked into the team and then got put on a scholarship and blah, 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 you know, the rest is history. But yeah, just that moment and looking back on it and just knowing that he had that much faith in me when I thought he was talking crazy, like, so.
The final step on our journey is about gratification. These coaches have impacted and influenced our lives mostly in a positive manner. As I caught up with these individuals, they really had important sentiments to share with the coaches that have affected their life. The final question is about any words of gratification that they would like to share to the coaches who have meant something beyond the field.
Honestly, words couldn't describe how grateful I am. His countless lessons have definitely impacted me even into adulthood. And just say thank you. Whatever you need, it's on me. You know, I'll always be there. He knows it. I've gone back and helped him plenty of times, and I'll go back and help plenty of times more. You know, whatever he needs, he's got it.
I would tell them don't ever stop being who they are. Because I know I'm not the first student athlete that they encountered and did those things that they did for. And I would hope that I'm not the last, because especially where we didn't grow up in a terrible neighborhood, but the area that we lived in, you didn't have teachers like that put that care and interest into you 24/7. So I know if they were able to affect my life, they're going to be able to affect and uplift some other kid, you know, in the future. So
this answer is going to be pessimistic, and what it would be to the coaches that this were, I guess, pro coaches that I feel like didn't really believe in me. You were wrong, and you deserve to be fired. And you should be more open and receptive, because if you haven't won a championship in 10 years, you should be trying something. So that's definitely that's a negative side to coaches. They kind of can be a little stubborn.
That I'm just grateful for the relationship that we've built, and I'm glad that we still stay in contact, and I know that I can call you or call on you for anything at any point in time and you'll be there for me. And just like, thank you for believing in me when like pretty much nobody else did, like literally nobody else. I bet you nobody else would have believed anybody if they were to say like, oh, you're going to go walk on the team at Georgia. So just thank you for always being there for me and having my back and believing in me.
While there, I would say this to Coach G or even Coach Roger, any other coach, anybody who wants to aspire to be a coach. There are going to be times where you feel that your players aren't listening to you. And it's going to aggravate the mess out of you that you feel like they're not understanding where you're coming from, but they don't understand the passion that you have for it. But everybody goes through life where they realize, wow, it clicks. Everybody has that time when it clicks. Now, it might not click when you say it, but they're definitely listening, and you'd be surprised how impactful your words are when they become adults.
I guess it will kind of be a message to all the coaches that I've had, because I have, because I played on so many teams, I have had a couple bad coaches, but I can't say that, all the coaches weren't there for me in a way. So, I just appreciate coaches taking it past the sport that it was and actually caring, because nowadays you have coaches who are just on the team because their kid plays or, certain things like that. But I had coaches who really cared about the sport and cared about the kids on the team, not just me, everyone from the best player to the worst player, and did what they had to do to make sure that the team progressed and everybody became, you can't help everyone, but they tried to help any and everybody in any situation that they were in. They didn't we became a family more so than a team. And on every team that I was on, every coach was instrumental in making sure that the players still had contact to this day. Players took it past the sport and cared about each other, so that when we got on the field, it was easy to play with each other because we actually liked each other and, we cared about one another. So I just thank the coaches for allowing me to open up. I wasn't talkative in sports, but to open up and to feel, certain things and understand that it was okay to feel. As a Black man, you don't have many people in your life who talk to you. And I had a lot of coaches who sat us down and really had deep, in-depth conversations about just life in general, about being Black and growing up and being a man. Without a father is not many men I can turn to, but I know if I had a situation today, I have at least 4 or 5 coaches who I could pick up the phone and call, and they'll be there and let me know what's going on.
There we have it, folks. Coaches are some of the most influential people a young person can encounter. Not only can they be the difference between someone loving or hating a sport, but they are also key components in the development of this individual. There are life lessons in sports and lifelong friends to be had from teammates and coaches gained throughout the years. One thing is certain, coaches matter. The practices matter. The pregame speeches matter. Being tough and honest with kids matter. Wins and losses are good for morale, but once you step into the position of coach, it's no longer about you. It's about the success of the team and even more about the growth of the players coached. Coaches, if you check this out, coaches matter. Non-coaches, if you check this out, guess what? Coaches matter. Hopefully, now everyone can truly understand the importance of coaches behind the scenes and beyond the field. Thank you for tuning in.